I didn't have to say anything. Everyone just got silent. Awesome, and that's perfect because we're doing a sound class. Wow. It's happening. We're finally doing something that's very much needed, including for both Haley and I, who have struggled our way through the past 2 years with multiple sound issues until we found Nico, who's going to be teaching our sound workshop today. So Nico, we met at an EDFC workshop that we were running for Green Screen back in January, and he immediately told us that everything we were doing was wrong and that we could get rid of half the stuff that we had. And then he came into the studio and we were like, would you teach us everything you're currently teaching? Would you teach our community everything you're currently teaching us? Because I feel like it's something we just don't know a lot about, and it's always through trial and error at the sake of the export of our movies. And then and then we're there's always something I'm unhappy with in sound. So having someone like Nico come in to teach us today is really fantastic. So Nico, come on up. Come on up. Da-da-da. Clapping. We're clapping, everybody. Yeah. Great. So Nico's going to go through the basics and really tailor it to our needs today as well. So I think, we'll take it slow because I know people ask a lot of questions and then take a lot of notes. And it's a lot of stuff that, it's the first time really us digging into. But Nico, thank you so much for being here.
Cool.
We're at the back. And for the live stream, if you have any questions whatsoever, just type to us on Zoom and we're here.
Yep.
Thanks, Nico.
Cool.
Yay.
Is the live stream going to be recorded?
It is, yes.
If we don't take notes, we can...
Correct. I'll post it all on our website for free within a week. Yeah.
Cool. And then I saw a couple of you guys with headphones on. We don't need to put those on yet unless you needed to hear me better. That's totally fine. I'll go through some examples later between different kind of mics and the one I'm wearing. Hey, I'm Nico. I've been doing sound about 9 years. I graduated from DePaul, which is in Chicago. I got a post-audio degree because I thought that's what I was going to do. Then I just didn't like editing in my room all day. As some of you guys probably know how long and tedious that is. And then you just go on set, you get to hang out and meet people, and then I was like, I can do this. It's pretty easy. So I've been doing that for quite a bit now. I joined the union in 2021, although there's not a whole lot of union work in LA right now. But last year I got to do a Christmas movie that was directed by Jennifer Love Hewitt. That was fun. Last year, on the non-union side, I also did Beast Games, which is by Mr. Beast. We had 1,000 contestants.
That was cool.
It was something. But we did set the world record. We mic'd up 1,000 people on the show, plus Jimmy and his friends. We had 1,024 channels of audio, 500 plus cameras. It was cool. So I've done commercials, 100, literally more than 150 short films in people's houses or wherever we shoot them. And then, I don't know, all the way up to the biggest reality show. So, we're just getting started in the career, but that's it. I feel like a little qualified. So we'll talk about this. But I'm going to grab a handheld mic. I want to know what you guys know about sound, because if anyone have any questions right now about sound, we're going to go a little extra. We have microphones just because I want the audience members, thank you. We should have went wireless. Does anyone want to talk about their knowledge of sound? Any questions they have going into it?
I can have a
That's what's up.
question. I know you're going to cover this.
Yes.
But when you're
No,
doing
talk,
an interview,
talking to the microphone. So the people online can hear you.
I know we're going to cover everything. When you're doing an interview, is it so much better to have a boom mic than lavaliers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are going to talk.
I knew you would, but I just thought yes is the answer.
We are going to talk about how much better a boom mic is than a lav, than even the ones I have on. This is a $400 lav, and then the transmitter is $2,000, and then the receiver is another couple grand. It's great. It's good for what it is, but this mic is so much better. This one's fine. This one's more for wider shots. We'll talk about that later. But yes, the boom mic is so much better. Also, Sean, this is off on purpose. The boom is so much better. Anyone else have any other questions? Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is more just curiosity.
Yeah.
We saw Sinners last night.
Cool.
Which was shot with IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
IMAX cameras notoriously stupid loud.
Yeah.
And then all of these directors using IMAX cameras
Yeah.
seem to hate ADR.
Yeah.
like notoriously. How does that mic overcome all that noise?
Great. Here, give me that back. They hate ADR because they're very pretentious. That's what it comes down to. But that's the whole thing about like this. I haven't seen Sinners. I got a 2-year-old. I'll get to it when I get to it. I ain't seeing it right now. But like when Oppenheimer came out, I guess they had a whole bunch of close-ups. And then you have Tom Hardy now talking really loud or whatever, whoever's in that movie. And people complained about it because they can't hear anything. And it's just like, you kind of have to do ADR because then you just have people complain about it. And there's the director's egos, which is why so many, why fans are so angry at some of their films. It's like, yeah, I know I don't like ADR, but like, just do it, make it a little cleaner, make it a little better. We're going to consume it on our phone with little earbuds. Like, we need kind of better audio. So that's it. It's just their egos.
I also,
Dialogue replacement. Dialogue replacement.
I also think there's a good note is that there is a thing with, I've run into it with actors and it kind of puts sound in a hard place where a lot of actors now will mumble and it's like they're trying to get that in the scene. But like you can mumble it if we have it clean and we can fix that in post. But if you are buried in the noise floor, which is just the inherent noise of the system, and we can't understand your dialogue on set, they aren't going to be able to make it intelligible in post. So you're also running into that a little bit too these days.
Yes.
And this is Sean.
Yeah.
And we love Sean as well.
I'm another sound mixer.
Yeah, that's Sean. Sean can tell you about a whole different aspect of sound later on because he does like Amazing Race and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. So you guys talk to him about that after.
Speaking of multiple mics, in post-production, what do you recommend in terms of mixing the boom audio with the lav audio, and or how would you do that?
Yes, that's a great question. Oh, that would be a great question for like a post-seminar class. But what we're just gonna do here is kind of teach you what you should get. So I always think the boom's always gonna sound the best. If you can get the boom in the right placement, everything's perfect, you have a great boom operator, you don't even need the lav. What do you think, Sean?
I think you're pretty much correct. The one thing caveat now is a lot of people in post are actually using waveform aligning plugins. So it's kind of like if you're recording drums, you'll have to phase align your overheads with your snares to make it all sound full. So a lot of bigger films now, they're actually using a blend of lavs and boom. But I would say for everything that you're doing, unless you're handing it off to a real post sound mixer who actually has those tools, don't worry about it. Pick one good source and it's gonna save you a lot of phase issues.
Yeah, and then like you guys aren't gonna do it on like the films for the challenges here and all that kind of stuff, but like when it comes to like multicam, there's a lot of times you're not gonna be able to get that boom in there because you're doing tights and then you got wides all at the same time. So you put the boom in there, you try, but you're gonna be too high up anyways. So the boom's always the best, but if you have to use a lav, like it's fine. But I got some examples to show later about how you can screw up boom or lav audio, so we're gonna try to avoid that. Cool. I think, what do you think? Should we talk about boom mics? Yeah. Cool. So there's mostly two different kind of boom mics. Like we have a shotgun mic, which is good for like wider shots. And then this is a cardioid mic. Like this is gonna be better. It's gonna sound sweeter. You're gonna want it a little closer. So Sean, you wanna give me the you guys can put your headphones on. You wanna give me the 416? So this is called a shotgun mic. And just like a shotgun, it's gonna have kind of like a wider spray. So you should be able to hear me pretty good here. If I go over here, I'm still gonna sound decent, I'm assuming? Yeah. Yes, thank you. It's good. If you wanna get a couple different people, you're super wide, you know, it's a little bit easier to use than like a cardioid mic. And then you wanna give me the 50? Yeah. I'm gonna go the 50. This is the best mic for like an interview. Person sits down, you get that mic right in front of them. It's gonna sound nice and warm. But the thing is, if you're using it to like boom on a scene, you gotta follow the person because you're gonna lose them if they're just talking and it's not the way you want it to go. So I don't know if you guys, I'm assuming everyone has Instagram. There's like a page called WTF, What Are You Booming? Because it just shows just memes, but it's just like someone holding a boom 20 feet away from everything. But if you can get the boom here and you can get someone to follow you, it's gonna be it's gonna sound much better. It's gonna sound much better than like this. Or Sean, you want to put up just my lav to compare it? So this is the lav. Like it sounds fine. It's not gonna be as warm as the 50. Yeah.
I mean, another thing to just think about, because this is comparing lavs and booms, like his are pretty expensive lavs. They're like $450 a lav.
Yep.
That is a $1,200 mic.
Yeah.
Like, and look, just think about the elements on that lav are going to be no bigger than like a ballpoint pen, like the actual pen capsule, where like that's going to be the size of like a dime or a nickel. So just you're going to be able to get much better.
Yeah,
stuff
and
out of that.
I always compare. You give me the 50. It's nice and warm. But I always compare. Like this is like shooting on like an Alexa, and then this is like shooting on your iPhone. Like it's fine. It'll be okay. But like this is gonna sound much better. And I hopefully it sounds good. I don't really know. Yeah.
And sorry, I know you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we can get it from the recording.
But so this one, the one you're calling a 50,
Yes. Sorry. It's a condenser mic.
is a condenser mic.
Yes.
Cardioid mic.
Yes.
And it's similar to this in my hand, in terms of the.
Yes. In the pattern.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Sorry. It is an MKH 50 by Sennheiser. I just call it a 50.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
No. And then that one above with the dead cat
This is an MKH 416. It's a shotgun mic.
shotgun, and that one's super directional.
Yeah, but it also has a little more spread. Sean's setting in an IFB right there. I'll take this from you. But Sean, you want to give him the 416?
Yeah, there you go.
Like it sounds fine. You can get a little more distance for a minute. It should sound pretty good. If you move around just a little bit, it's okay. Like obviously if there's a scene you want someone to move the boom. But it sounds okay. But it doesn't have the same warmth, I think, as the 50. But it's a little more forgiving. Do you have a question? Yes.
So I'm going to be doing some documentary films.
Yes.
And so when you're in the field, you basically need to use a lav? Or, I mean, is it practical to go to a sporting event or something and bring a boom?
Ooh, great question. So the thing about like the boom mics is you are going to pick up a lot of stuff. So if you're at a sporting event, you are still going to pick up a lot of whatever's in the background. Where compared to like a lav, it should be a little more isolated, but not always, but it should be.
And you need power for the booms, right? Nice.
Yes. So these need phantom power. So these are using 48 volt, and then like I have batteries here. So this is what's powering this mic.
Also, another thing to think about with at least the dock stuff is like you might not be in a situation where you can easily lav everybody up. So if you're running around and doing random pickups, it might make more sense to actually boom everybody. Because does that make sense? Compared to like if you're following one subject around the entire time, it might be easier to just lav them. So it's very
it just
situational.
all depends on the dock itself.
And like, for example, on The Amazing Race, which we do, it's a full lav show. We never use a boom. So when you're talking, when they pull a random person off the side of the street to get directions, that random person is getting it all off the contestants' lavs. Because you're close enough. So like if you have 3 people and you're all right close to each other, you could in theory possibly pick the entire scene up off of one single lav. Yeah.
So I basically own a very shitty Rode mic
Yes.
from like 2014 and a little boom pole
Yep.
and a little sound recorder, and that's all I have. Do I need to upgrade?
It all depends on what you want to do. If you're going to one-man band everything, sure. If you want to, you can hire a sound person. You can rent things. There's a lot of, we're in LA. There's a few rental houses. Fortunately, one of them shut down, but we have 2.5. You want to call Film Tools a rental house? We got another audio rental house. But there's also ShareGrid. So those people that are renting out their own gear, you can get at a discounted price. But yeah, it all just depends on what you want to do.
Do you think it's a trash mic or?
Do I think it's a trash mic? 100%. But it's fine. But it's fine. We have them here because they own it, and then we have a couple other mics, and then we'll do like a hands-on thing later after the live stream. You guys can go right into our mixers and listen, and then you can compare things side by side. So like we'll do that later. But as for like spending money, it's hard out here. You don't have to spend money, you know, don't.
I'll also say this is getting a little zen for it, but like the mic you have is going to be a good enough mic. Like if you don't have a mic, then you should have a mic. If you have a mic and you're like, do I really need to spend a couple grand to like get something pro? You might probably don't, especially if you're just sending it to like YouTube and you're not dealing with like the same clients we are.
Sure.
The bar is lower.
There's also this, what's the saying? What's the best camera available?
The one you can use.
The one you have with you. Yes. So if you have any mic, it's better than nothing.
Got it.
Yes. Here you go, buddy.
Appreciate it. Yes, my question is, what about if you're using a shotgun mic on a XLR handle, like on an on camera, giving it phantom power? If you're doing like a two-person scene,
Yep.
do you? Because I know that with the boom, they'll sometimes point it towards whoever is talking. So if you have them kind of spaced out and you're doing like a wide shot, would it affect the sound quality if you're like facing one actor, since it's on camera, one actor more than the other? And if in that case, would you just do a lav and a shotgun?
So you're talking about if you're just using just a shotgun on your camera, two people talking, kind of like right here.
Yeah.
We can show you. Let's figure this out. So, this is what you're doing, like a 2 shots of camera. It's kind of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're gonna point it right at the people talking, right? Somebody want to hop in here and talk with me? So this is the camera. You're gonna be. Are you gonna? Is this? No, over here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let's not have your back towards camera.
Sure.
You got such a beautiful face. Okay, so this is their main camera, but that's for us. But you, what are you talking about? Like a 2 shot? Like us talking like this?
Yeah.
One's a little closer. Come here. A little closer. And are you gonna go back and forth?
It would be getting one coverage and then flipping to get the other coverage.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. So that comes out more like sound editing. So if you're on his coverage and you don't have lavs. Like this is how, Sean, can you give me just the 416?
Yeah, that's what we have.
Okay, then this is how I'm gonna sound. But you talk for me,
This is how I'm gonna sound.
Nice. Oh, wow.
right? It sounds better.
Sexy.
Right, I mean, but obviously I'm not gonna assume that your cameras have the same preamps as our mixers do, because they don't.
Right.
But this is kind of like the difference of what you'll get.
Got it.
But and then you have someone going back and forth. But like, let's go to the difference. So this is now coming from up top of the boom. You wanna talk?
Of course, I definitely want to talk.
Now, when you're talking on screen, you're not going to look up to the boom.
That's true. Yes, I'm present with you now.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's going to sound a little bit different, hopefully a little bit warmer, because the sound waves are going to move up.
Yeah.
They're not going to move down. So that's kind of why the boom's better up top.
Got it.
The other note when it's on camera is it sounds very directional because you're pointing like this. Your mic placements can be very different. So you could be shooting out a window here and be picking up all this background noise on this one, and you're shooting towards a wall here, so you're not getting as much. So when you're cutting between the two, they're going to sound really different. Kind of the advantage of having it up there is the boom is then always roughly in the same spot. So when you're cutting between different takes, the mics sound more simple.
Yeah, so then that's a whole like post sound thing. But basically, even if you're on camera, we're having a back and forth conversation. You want to give me my love?
Right on.
We have a back and forth conversation. Just use my audio from when the camera's on me, when he's on camera. So you don't have to use me behind the shotgun mic. Cool. Thanks, buddy.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Sorry, you just said to use your audio when the camera is on him.
For when I'm talking to him. So you know how like on a scene, we're talking, and you'll say your lines, but I'm still on camera, like reacting to you. Use your audio from coverage on you. Don't use it from right now. Because in theory, if you're doing a boom mic and a lav mic, I'm not on camera. My lav's there. It's gonna sound okay, but it's gonna sound warmer if you're getting my coverage. because hopefully you guys have a mic right here. Yes.
So is it a good idea if you're using a boom to do backup sound like from a lav, to do both or not?
Backup sound is always great.
Okay.
More audio, the better. Our files are so small. You guys can record all the tracks you want.
Okay.
It's very small. All right. Yes. Question. I love questions. 'Cause I'm really just winging this, so I love the questions.
Yeah, you're doing great. So if the frame that we're shooting doesn't allow for the boom to be as close to the actor as we want,
Like a wide shot.
yeah, like a wide
Yes.
shot, does it like behoove us to up the gain? Is that the right word? I'm
Yes. Okay. Yes, we can definitely talk about wide shots because you guys should, in theory, in editing, just use them as kind of like an establishing. If you want to do the whole thing as a wide or cut it in here and there, use the audio from people's coverage because most of the time you can put any audio over it and like you're not gonna be able to tell. It might be off a little bit on the lips. Figure that out. Or you can use the lavs. But don't really worry about the boom on the wide shot because it shouldn't be too long. It should just be like an intro into the scene.
And the other thing that can help is sometimes we call it lizard staffing.
Yes.
Just like throw the boom up in the air behind camera to pick up air. Okay. And then when you're in the edit, you can just lay that air track below and then use the lavs, and it makes the editing sound a lot smoother between the two.
Mm-hmm. But wide shots, very short time on camera.
Yes, my question is, could you explain, like I understand you're supposed to record the dialogue in mono, correct?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, everything's pretty much mono. Yeah.
Okay, but using the decibels either like -10, -20, when are you supposed to set that? How do you utilize that when filming a scene?
Yeah, gain staging, yes. So that's gain staging. It's all kind of just depends on like what you're recording it to. So like I use the sound devices, and in the 6 series, you would aim to get it to 0, but then they also gave you 20 dB of headroom. But then this one's more, I'm in the 8 series now, and it's kind of more digital. You aim for like -12, but -12 to 0 is kind of all the extra space. So it all kind of just depends on the mixer you have, especially if you're going to camera. Cameras aren't going to have all the preamps and the safety as like a mixer would have. Just figuring out, you just want to kind of figure out how loud they're going to talk. If there's any yelling in the scene, maybe you're going to just turn it down just a little bit. If they're super loud, but if not, just kind of figure out the level they're going to talk at, and then aim that like -6. Because is that the meter they have in Premiere and stuff? Is like -6 what you want?
Yeah, I think so. Another way is if your meters have color changes, you basically on your ISO mono recordings, like you're saying, want them to be barely touching the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your main mix, you would want it to be like more healthily in the yellow and barely touching the red, if at all.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. So like our mixer is going to cost a little more money. We have a little more leeway on our stuff. For example, a lot of the new stuff, whether it's DJI or Rode or whatever, Tentacle, they have the 32-bit float. We don't even think about it. You might on Amazing Race, but like for our mixers, we don't. We've got all that extra leeway. I guess 32-bit float in post, you can say.
And this might be a little in the weeds, but like it's just a new file format, people, and you have the ability to not clip audio. So people think it's better, but a lot of nonlinear editing systems for video can't use it. And so if you record in it and you import it into a 24-bit session, you're importing clipped audio. So just because that audio never clips doesn't mean it's better. You have to like know how it's being used in your pipeline.
Yeah, so it's kind of just knowing what you're recording to. If it's color, like Sean said, just to yellow, aim for that.
So when you're talking about a mixer, to me, the switcher is a mixer, but the mixer is like the audio recorder, like the Zoom 6. Is that a mixer, or is that a recorder? Yeah. Is that the mixer/recorder that you're talking about?
Does that have? I'm assuming it has gain, but does it also have like a mix feature as well? Does it just do like one track, or does it record like a polywave? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'm not like too familiar with it. our mixer records something called a polywave, which would be just one file, but then you put it into like Premiere or whatever, and it breaks down into all the ISOs. So
I think if it's basically just a recorder, then it just can possibly record individual tracks, but it's not sending all that audio to a stereo.
No, it's sending each track.
So then it's probably just an individual recorder.
okay.
Not a mixer.
Yeah, a mixer would have a function where you could take all those individual tracks and then send them to a stereo file.
So like that's what we're doing right now is like we're recording everything as ISOs, but then we're sending it into their board as a mix that Sean's mixing right now. But if something is accidentally mixed down or mixed up too high or whatever, when we go into post and upload this, they can just cut it out of the mix and just go right to the ISOs.
Yeah, and ISOs stand for isolated recordings.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. Yes.
I thought it was isotopes. Because I'm a chemist.
Speaking of gain and the 32-bit float, are like Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, do those take 32-bit float files? That's one question. And then the other one is, do you recommend if we're just using a stereo 16-bit system and if we have two mics, will we want to aim one like really low, like set the gain for one really low and set it really high if there's like, even if it's just one thing, you know? Yeah.
To answer the first question about posts, whoever's doing post, talk to them. It's whatever they want. We're just going to record everything 24/48, and it works with everything. That's just kind of what we're aiming for. And then for the 2-channel mixer thing you're talking about, yeah, if you're doing something that's super loud, super quiet at the same time, yeah, why not? You know, we have the feature, we can do things, digital routing and stuff like that. So if it's something like, I've done other Lifetime movies where there's like, Lifetime movies where there's like screaming and then you gotta whisper because someone's breaking into someone's house, who knows? And then, so like, I'll just have the boom normal for like the whispers, maybe turn it up a little more, but then I'll just do another input of it digitally of it much lower. So the editor, I don't even have to worry about mixing it. Granted, if I had a boom operator, but they don't have the budget for it, if I had a boom operator, then I would just like live mix. I'll just keep that gain low and then just turn it up on the mixer. But usually that's not the case, having funds and extra people and stuff like that. So yes, that is definitely a way to do it. To keep one low, keep one normal, so you have that flexibility in post.
That's also like for your gain staging. We gain stage all the isolated recordings a little bit on the lower side, just so that when you bring them into the mix, you add some gain there.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way, if they're clipping on the mix, you're hopefully not clipping on any of your isolated recordings.
Yes. What is the best way to make sure you properly sync? If you don't have a sound mixer, say you're using a shotgun mic and lavs,
yep,
to be able to sync the audio so that it's correctly moving with the actor's mouth or the visual whenever you go to post to edit it.
Yes. I didn't know we were going to talk about that today. Time code. Time code's the best. If you're just, so like, it's our responsibility as a sound mixer to provide that for camera, assuming the camera can do it. Like, as you tell here, all the outputs, everything plugged in is HDMI and then power, which is going to the board. But I'll leave this here for like later. If you notice in the back of their board, I put a time code box plugged into it. I'll show you. Right here, it's this little white box. And that's the time of day, right? Oh yeah. So we provide the time code from our mixer into a little box. Little box goes into whether it's a switcher board or the camera itself, and then they're going to sync up because it's going to be in the metadata. And if you don't have time code or using a camera that doesn't do time code, a slate. You don't have a slate? Glass. That's it. Because you're going to have that spike in the audio level, and then you should sync it up that way.
Their tip is if you have multiple sources for syncing, that's like a kind of a belt and suspenders. Like, it's great to have a flap, it's great to have time code, and it's great to have waveform going into camera.
Mm-hmm.
They can also sync off of the waveform. So if you run the same mix out of your mixer and into the camera, they can just sync the waveforms up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because Premiere has something called pluralize. So if you have scratch audio on your camera, you put the audio files in, it's supposed to sync it up based on the waveforms.
The advantage of that is if your time code slips, then you have audio waveform. If for some reason that doesn't work and you have somebody clapping on screen, then you can manually enhance things. So you have like 3 syncing options, and that way you can fail and still sync audio.
Is the time code continuous when you just once
All
you
day.
start it, you just let it go?
Yeah, don't even touch it. It's always running on our end. The battery on like those little boxes for, I don't know, a week. So you can just keep that running if you want to. But even like when our devices are turned off, it has like an internal battery, so like time code's still going. So like, yeah, it's always continuous.
And that's the tentacle.
Tentacles are a brand of time code boxes. So the one I have over there, which you guys can check out later, it's called Denicky. It's the JB1 model. They used to be in Valencia, but then things just, I don't know, it made more sense for them to move. They're in like Wyoming now, Idaho. It's just because it's cheaper, which makes sense on a business aspect. But they used to be right down the road. Tentacles over in Europe, Sweden, Denmark. So it all depends, things break. If you need to send it in to get repairs, they were right down the road, much easier. Tentacles are great though too. And they also have like a little recording device, which is called the Track E, which I like more than like the Rhodes or the DJI, because they have the extra mic that you can clip, you can hide it. It just looks a little more professional. And then because of a patent dispute that we don't need to get into, if you get like the Canadian or European version, you can listen to it on your phone. So while it records, so it's recording and transmitting. But if you get the US version, you can now listen to it as it's recording currently. But they're a good device. They also do 32-bit and along with 24. But I like that they have the extra mic. And then if you don't want to use the Track E as a little personal recorder, they do double up as a timecode box. A lot of functions for those. And they're like $300, $350, something like that. Not crazy. Tentacle. Tentacle.
Can you address the recommended sound if you're a one-man band and you're going somewhere and you don't have a sound person, you don't have a mixer, you have an audio recorder and
Yeah.
mic.
What are you
want a
shooting?
time code? Do you do a time code on that, or
What are you shooting?
you mean like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can answer that 1,000 ways.
well, like if I'm shooting with a DLSR camera.
Yep.
And I'm using lavalier mics or booms.
Yep.
Because I'm not having a mixer.
Yep.
I'll just have my sound recorder.
Yep.
So does the time code go into the sound recorder?
So the sound recorder is going to generate. I don't know, because you talked earlier, you have the little zoom one. Do the small zooms, do they generate time codes? They might not. They might start at the F8 for zoom, but everything else generates time code. But if you're doing, like what are you doing? Like a documentary?
Yeah.
This is the F. This is just audio out.
Yeah.
You go audio out into your camera. So then you have the audio recording and then a backup going into your camera so they can just sync up. Yeah. But if not,
I've done documentaries. I mean, I've done narratives with a slate.
slates are great.
So is it just forget the
Slates are
time?
also though for dumb stuff would be really hard just because of having the time and everyone in hand. But also like if you're thinking about you're going to be running with a mixer and a DSLR, which can be a pain in the ass. So like it might make more sense to like put an on-camera something so that you have scratch track that way than time coding in through like a splitter wide cable and then putting tentacles on. Because you're not going to be able to like, effectively do it and operate it.
Well, because you have like the DJIs that we talked about, so you can like use that on them, or the Sennheisers going right into the Zoom, and then you can do, I don't know, maybe you got a buddy that has a terrible Rode mic just hanging out that they're not using. You could just borrow it from them, and then you can just put it right on the camera. So then your video files have audio, and then you have the better recordings on the Zoom, and then you can just sync it up super easy in post. Yeah. Just do it, man. Just ask.
I was just gonna say, also for some single easier dumb stuff, I'll just throw a camera mic onto the camera and then I'll get deal with laws and stuff like that. For
piece of operator. Because then you're doing a lot of different things like that. It's going to be really hard because you're going to be like trying to pay attention to your levels and also watch your frame. It's like.
But then also some of the other mixers, like the smaller ones, they have the little thing. Yeah, they have a little thing you can screw it onto the bottom of the camera. So then you can like everything's right there. The monitor on the camera and then the levels are right there. So, you know the screw that's on the bottom of the little tripod? Yeah, yeah. You can screw the cameras right onto the recorder. Some recorders. Yeah, that's fine. We can talk about specifics later. And especially because like Sean's got great experience doing a whole bunch of like wilderness stuff along with Amazing Race. And then if you want to talk about like sit down, cushy interview stuff, that's my favorite. Hold on, you give it to me.
Yeah, so since we're talking about equipment and all that, can we, like, money is no object.
Sure.
We are shooting our big budget pilot or big budget feature. What are the components of the sound department? Can you break that down in just the most rudimentary way?
Yeah, just turn that off and he's got a question. So I'll get to you in a second. But yeah, it all depends. It's usually a crew of 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. Who knows? It all just depends on budget, how many actors are going to be on camera, all the different kind of stuff. I know I was talking to the mixer who did 911 Lone Star, and when they were shooting during COVID, because of all the different zones, he brought in a 4th, and then every season after that, when the producers were like, "Hey, who's your team?" He just gave them 4 people, and they never really said anything because the budget was kind of established. But most of the time, for this bigger stuff, it's going to be 3. If it's a pilot or something a little bit smaller, and smaller, our definition of small and big compared to a studio is completely different. So small can go all the way up to $10 million. That's still low budget for a lot of things. And that'll still be like usually like a crew of 2. So it'll be the mixer, it'll be the boom operator. But if you're doing like multiple cameras, you know, you can fight for like 2 boom operators because you're going to do whatever. And then gear, it's going to be lavs on pretty much at standard now for like everyone who's going to be on screen is talking. But the thing is like, you're not really going to get like just background people talking or improvising or anything because then they go from background to like SAG. So we know to mic them up because producers will make sure they don't say a damn word on camera, you know? So you have the lavs and all the people talking, you have the boom, you have a team of 2. You guys got headphones, so like we'll charge for those. Time coder on every camera. Slate costs money. That's it, right? Just that's little things here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's generally it. Those are the components.
And then when are you switching between the cardioid and shotgun? What is motivating that choice?
I almost never use the shotgun, mostly just because I know in post, if it's a super wide, you guys aren't going to use the boom on that anyways. You're going to use the lavs. So I'll kind of just have here, like Sean said, just kind of get the air, you kind of get things. And then I'll just mix it mostly just the lavs, just for that little scene. But as soon as you get into like a 2-shot, because like a 2-shot is mostly here, you know, maybe a full body, but like camera's being cut off here. I'm putting the boom right there. So I'm gonna go with this mic for the rest of the scene.
Hey, cardio's more okay outside.
You know, I got yelled at by Chris Allen about this. I was like, "What do you use for like an outdoor mic?" He's like, "I don't really believe in that." You know, it's not. There's no indoor mic. There's no outdoor mic, and it's kind of true. You kind of just put like a different kind of windscreen on it. It still sounds great outside. And honestly, I use this thing. 100% of the time I use this. If I have to use this mic, I'm very mad at myself because I don't want to be in that scene. But this mic's great. Even if you're using it outside, just put a different windscreen on it. It's gonna sound great. Flip that switch. What do you got for me?
Yeah. Speaking of outside, which was going to be my question. Say you're like doing a filming 2 actors in a dialogue scene downtown LA.
Yeah.
You have an on-camera shotgun mic and 2
Sure.
lavs. How would you properly go about recording the dialogue so you can get the best out of it with, you know, being in downtown and there's noisy and background?
Perfect. Let me get that mic. And then the cable's right between you 2. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Question was outside scene, mic on the camera. Go to the valley. Go anywhere else besides downtown. Downtown's terrible. Why would you do that? I get it. You have to. That's the location. Maybe you live there. That's fine. Just hope there's not a lot of sirens. Don't do it when business people get off work because all the rich execs just take helicopters everywhere. So there's gonna be helicopters going everywhere. Just pray for luck, man. You know, do it when Coachella is happening, so everyone's out of town and things are just easier. Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even suggest it if you had a sound person there with lavs and everything. If you're gonna be outside, like because you're gonna have cars, it's just gonna be noisy.
Yeah.
I don't know, just luck. That's mostly what it's gonna come down to.
I would also
Wouldn't do it.
I would also say just pay attention. Like there's so many problems that you can fix by rewriting something rather than trying to deal with the elements. Like if you have, I was telling this in prep, like I did a scene for a film that just came out, and these two people are having a very intense conversation while they're like working at a sandwich shop wrapping sandwiches, and like the paper destroyed all the audio, and they're like, oh,
I have props. We can talk about this.
and so like, why don't you just write the scene so that instead of them being at work on the sandwich line wrapping sandwiches, which destroys all the audio, have them having a cigarette in between, like on a break.
Can you give me just my lav?
Yes.
Like imagine you're trying to do a scene where you're like bagging groceries and it's super noisy. We don't want this. Now give me the 416. Still, you don't want this. You don't want a dialogue scene of people talking with this thing. It's terrible. You know? So you can rewrite things, you know.
Like, do they need to be on the side of a highway? Could they like go for a little bit of a walk and have the highway be in the background so that they're still in the same space, but you're not like right next to it? Like, so think that there's a lot of creative ways to fix sound problems that don't actually involve any sound tech.
Yeah. Like one example I was going to bring up because I'm assuming for the competition things that they do, super low budget stuff, you guys are just going to shoot in people's apartments. Stuff's limited. But you might want to do a scene where it's two people laying in a bed talking. It's super common and super cheap to do. You want to give me just my lav?
Yeah, that's all you got.
But if you're in bed, and you got the blanket on and people are talking, oh my God, it's so cold. This isn't so good to lay down. It doesn't sound good. And then, you know, depending on how you do it, you want to get fancy. You got some hotshot camera friend that wants to do a cool overhead shot. That's fine. But if you got the camera here looking down, you can only get this in so far before it gets into the shot itself. The lavs are going to sound terrible. Just be a little cautious of that. You know, there's a reason why other scenes, like if like the woman's covered, the man's shirtless, they're usually sitting up in bed. You can get the boom in there. They can still have a little chit chat. But like, just don't overcomplicate it, you know? There's nothing wrong with just right on them just talking, because that's usually what these challenges that you guys are going to do are. There's a topic, it's going to be quick, you only have a couple days to shoot, edit, and all that stuff. You don't need to get super complicated and make your audio harder, you know?
Outfits too.
Outfits, I have another prop for that.
Low budget project, and they made the main character wear a white beater the entire time, like a see-through white beaters, so it was impossible to love him. But then when he did the wider shots, he can't be much. So,
Yeah.
and those just changed to a black white beater. Like they,
Oh man. Let's just say you want to have a sweet puffy jacket. I bet this sounds great, doesn't it? Oh yeah, chit chatting. Maybe give me just the 416 or the 50. Yeah, if people are talking, you're moving, it's dumb. Wardrobe is a big thing. If you are to wear like a leather jacket, it's super heavy and it sits on the lav. Also not great. But we say all these things, but if you just give me one of these mics in a good placement, like you guys will be okay for your film. You know, you don't always do crazy wides. Don't for simple stuff, don't go crazy, you know? Don't use your best shot ideas right now. Use them for that passion project when you get funding, you know, your pilot or whatever. Then go crazy when the money's there. Don't make things harder for yourself.
So talking about mic placement.
Yes.
What are rules of thumb for that? Like, is it okay to come?
Sure.
Go overhead, and if I am coming underneath, where should I like be pointing the mic?
Sure. I did a short film like a week or so ago where I had to go underneath for a shot because we were on a dolly coming back, and we saw all the ceiling and have fluorescent lights, so we were getting some shadows. And the way they had it, they were able to what do they call them? Not stills, where they paint stuff out. Yeah, composite shot. So they were able to get rid of the dolly track, but like I couldn't get the boom in there because there's gonna be too much shadow because they couldn't put like diffusion over the lights or anything like that or flags or anything. So I went under, and the guy was holding a sheet of paper. You guys have paper? Yeah, let me get a sheet of paper. No, no, no. It died?
You might need a new battery.
Yes. This is great. Thank you. So this is, this is when having a good communication with the director or the actor comes into place. For this instance, it was both. It was the actor who was also the director. But I had to go underneath, and he was in an office scene walking. He had sheets of paper, and this is going to get noisy. I'm sure you guys can hear it. So I was going underneath, falling with the dolly, and I was like, "Hey, man, you sound great. I love the boom audio way more than the lav." I was like, "Can you just calm this down?" And he's like, "Yeah." So don't move it as much or whatever. Just kind of knowing that the boom can sound fine. I like it better up here, but if you have to go underneath, it's fine. But make sure what they're doing isn't like right there. Because I had the boom, I think frame was here up, had the boom here, and he just had paper in his hand.
Like a boom is better than no boom. So it doesn't really matter if you're scooping or coming from below, coming from the side. It's better than not having it there at all.
And also, nothing will frustrate me more to a lighting team or a cinematographer, DP. If I'm putting the boom here on like a static shot or whatever, and there's a shadow, and they're like, "Can you boom from underneath?" No, you can put like a diffusion or a flag or something, because it's gonna sound way better up here. Down here is fine, it's fine, but you want the boom up here. But if you're just gonna light it on super harsh lights on them, like you have to give me something, and I will make a fuss about it because I want your guys' project to sound as good as it can. I don't want to do ADR. I don't want to do anything extra. I want to be as good as possible. So I'll fight the DP on that. Like it's fine. But you can boom under. I didn't like to. It all depends on the shot. If you have to, you have to.
I think you might have already mentioned it, but can you explain again, like when you boom under, how that's different from up top, like the direction of the wave?
Sure. You just want to see an example?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I can do it, and then someone else can talk. If you want to volunteer, you were pretty antsy last time. Yes. Yeah, we'll do some. We have plenty of time for like hands-on stuff later. You're right in front of the cameras. Oh, no. Sorry. We want you to be on camera. That's our main camera right there. We will have time to do hands-on stuff. So if you feel like you missed out on this, you can do it after. Okay. After the live stream. But so for everyone talking or listening, just give me a little dialogue. I'm gonna keep the boom right here. Just give me a little dialogue.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what to say, so I'll say this, and I'm making it up as I go along, and I'll continue to do so. I don't know if this is very creative, but it's the best that I have.
Let's say it's a wider shot or whatever, a little lower.
If it were wider, I would probably sound like this, and I'm still sitting here improving, and I'm not very good at it, but that's what I got. So that's
good. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So hopefully that gave you like a good example of boom placement. I hope I couldn't hear it, but like it's fine. Like it's okay, but it sounds a lot better when it's right here.
It's mostly just because our chest resonates a lot, and that gives you a lot of that nice lower end frequency. So when you're aiming your mic, you're hitting the chest cavity, and you're actually picking that up. When you're scooping, you're not hitting the chest the same way, so you're getting a lot less of that.
Also, when it comes to lav placement, like I put it right here. I could easily put it anywhere up here, but I don't want to get too much in my throat. Now it's going to sound the same if I have it right here. But if I bring it down a little bit more into the chest, I think it's going to sound a little better, personally. So it's just lav placements can be the same as boom placements. Chest, like right here's best. Lav, right here.
And again, like with a boom mic. Having a lav on talent is going to be better than not having a lav on talent. So just because you can't get it in the perfect sweet spot on their chest doesn't mean you can't mic the collar.
Yes,
It
that's
just means
true.
like if that's the only place you can get a mic, at least you got a mic on them.
That's true. We was talking about like that one scene he did with the person wearing a wife beater. It gets warm in LA, you know, it's gonna beach scene, tank tops, fishnets, who know? You get that right in the collar, you bring the wire down the back through the seam of the shirt, and you come through the back. Sometimes you have to get creative. It's not as good as, you know, I wish we could put it here all the time, but sometimes you do have to put in the collar. Any other questions? Because if not, we can just do some like hands-on thing after the live stream. We can do whatever.
How name and also like wave versus AC or something.
Yeah, do wave. Always do wave.
Always do broadcast wave because it's like a lossless file format.
Yep, always do that.
MP3s are compressed and lossless, or you lose fidelity, so you're going to lose a lot of what you get out of your recordings if you record in a compressed file format. No, I wouldn't record MP3. I would record wave whenever
Which
possible.
is, I don't know if you guys, how old some of you guys, some of you guys look young. But back in the day when we used to download music illegally, and LimeWire, BearShare, whatever it is, you could put all the MP3s into your iPod because they're a little bit smaller. Wave files a little bit bigger, like not much. Like
back then it was a big deal. Now it's negligible.
yeah. Back then it was a little bit, but like the wave file's a little bit bigger. MP3 is just compressed. So when you have people complaining or talking about like, well, Jay-Z did Tidal and it's not compressed and it's whatever, it's just that's all it is. So do wave, don't do MP3 or AC or whatever. File names on that, we just do, I try to mask the slate because I can type everything in. So scene one, take one, whatever.
Another note with file names, just so it's like you have your scene, your shot. Scene is typically a number, your shot is typically a letter, and then the take is again a number. It makes it a lot easier. If you try and do all numbers and stuff, you get into this jumbled soup of like 0105246, and then it makes it really easy to misname things. So just whatever you use, stay consistent, but that's also why they do that. Like, you know, scene one, shot one, like the wide typically doesn't have a number. And then as you get into coverage, you'll be like 1A, 1B, 1C to help make that easier.
I'm never gonna look for it on my phone, but I have a screenshot from the slate on like one of the Star Wars movies, and it's just a whole bunch of random numbers, and I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But yeah, just do something simple: 1A, 1B, 1C. Don't be like, hey, my shot list, you know, the wide is A, then but this shot, even though we're doing a second, we're gonna put this as F. Don't do that. Just go A, B, C, D. Just change in your notes.
It's much
It's
easier.
much easier for
instead of
everyone.
matching your shot list to
You don't
just we call it lettering up. Oh, we're changing the camera. Go to
changing a lens, you're
go up.
changing a setting, whatever. We're just gonna letter up. So you know, you might have this shot as 1A, and that's what we do it. But then the DP is like, let's put a couple different filters in it, blah blah blah. And it's a little bit different. So you're like, oh cool, we'll just letter up because you guys were anticipating it. Then you're like, no, it doesn't matter. Just letter up. It's fine. Just write down on your sheets.
Keep it simple, stupid is like
keep it simple. And that's why also why you have like a script supervisor is there for continuity and also for these kind of changes. So everyone's on the same page. Any other questions? Yes. You want to go? You?
Oh, go ahead.
Please.
Okay, it was just quick. I was gonna say, is that when they do the double letters, like they'll have AA or AB?
So usually we'll skip like ISO because it looks, you know, if you get sloppy, it's like a 150. So you're doing 23 letters. So if you go to AA, it just means you're on shot 24. You know.
So known as might not be having a good time.
Yeah, but it all depends. But then you could also just like your whole script, it could be 10 pages long, but one scene. And then you just have a whole bunch of different chunks you got to shoot it. So you could be having a good time, could be doing well, or you could be having a miserable day.
It's sort of a random question.
Please.
And I don't know anything about anything, but I'm noticing I'm hearing birds singing.
Yeah.
But then I'm not hearing it when I take the earphone off.
Because you're not okay. So you're not hearing it on like the handheld mic, right?
No, I'm not hearing it when I take my earphones out, but when I put them on, I can hear some birds.
That means the mics are so good, we can hear the birds.
Well, well, that's also like I was saying. Like these are going to sound the best, but they're also going to pick up a little bit of the noise. We do have some birds out here. Birds also can go through their sound can go through windows and some walls and stuff.
Frequency sound go further. The other thing is lavs are all omnidirectional.
Mhm.
They pick up everything in the environment. Whereas at least the mics are going to be built with the pickup pattern has a bit more rejection to it.
Then also, if you want to go like handheld, like you want to give me just this audio?
Yeah.
Which is why, these are going to be used for like whether you're doing podcasts, you're doing man on the street stuff, news, whatever. But if you move it at all, like you're going to lose that right away. Even if you have it in the same exact place like a 50, it's not going to sound the same. You want it nice and close, to be nice and warm. Because that's just how this mic is. You're not going to pick up any birds or anything, but that's the point of this. This mic is used for, honestly, these things are indestructible. They're $100. SM58, they've been around for close to 100 years, probably.
You can use them as a hammer.
You can use them as a hammer. There's videos online of people trying to light them on fire, run over the car with them. They're super indestructible, which is why when people are outside doing coverage for like hurricanes or any natural disasters, this mic, you're not going to get it. You can put a windscreen on, you're not going to get any wind noise. Like that's what it is. But you can't use this on a boom. It's just not going to have the same pickup pattern at all.
So it's the lavs that are picking up the birds?
Yeah, probably.
The only thing you're hearing right now is the lav.
A lav. Yeah, so it picks up a little bit, which is why when you're on set and you think you guys are okay and whispering in the corner, we're gonna hear that, and that means you guys got to clean that up in post. And that means if you're not doing it yourself, you're gonna pay someone a little bit. That time adds up, So
Post cleanup is not cheap. It's also for people who know how to do it well. It's like color grading. It's a specific skill. I can grade you over the coals, for lack of a better word. Like if you have to hire somebody to do all the cleaning, like they know that you can charge you.
yeah, and that's the whole point, especially for like these challenges. Like you also don't have the time nor the budget, so you want to just keep it as easy, as simple as possible. But also like these mics, this mic, if you live somewhere that's got a squeaky floor, that's why you unplug refrigerators, you got a neighbor that's super annoying, it's going to bleed through a little bit and you have to clean it up a little bit. Just things you need to think about. Also, if you're going to shoot like in your apartments, especially with the challenge coming up, you can know the surrounding areas, your neighbors, the buildings next door. If you know like the lawn service, whenever they do that stuff, like mine's Tuesdays and Fridays, they come into our building. If you know that, try not to shoot those days or go somewhere else. That'll save you time. That's usually done in location scouts. You should be going the same day of the week as the shoot you're doing at a similar time, but that doesn't always happen. It is what it is. I did a Baskin Robbins commercial, and then we get there and all the refrigerators are on. The one in Burbank, and then we're filming it with like an A-list celebrity, and then the director's like, "Do you hear all this stuff?" It's like, "Yeah, 100%." He's like, "What do you think we should do?" I'm like, "That was a pre-production thing you guys should have done because you guys didn't bring me in." And like, we got it, but they're gonna get someone to clean it up, and it's gonna cost them whatever they charge for multiple hours cleaning that up. So try to make things as simple as possible for you guys.
That's from the perspective. My job is to get the best quality sound given the situation I'm put in.
That is true.
If you make us record dialogue next to a highway, you might not get usable sound, and that's not your sound guy's problem.
Yeah, it's like I'm here. I'm gonna record it. The quality, super clean. You're gonna get everything, but it's super clean. I did my job. The rest is on you. I don't care. I'm on site, and that's why I like production over post, because post back and forth the notes for the editor and the producer and stuff like this. It might take forever to get paid. Production, 30 days after we were on set together, you have to pay me legally, or we go to the labor board. So that's the thing. So try to put yourself in the best position. But that's also not going to happen in these short films that you guys are doing for these challenges for CFA. You guys are going to that's problems for other stuff. When you guys hire producers or location scouts, that's their job. Now, if you hire a location scout and they don't pay attention to stuff like that, and you get there, that's a problem. And then it's just one of those things. You do bad at your job, you're just not gonna get hired again. Any other questions? Maybe, and then if not, we can do some hands-on stuff. All right. You want to kill the live stream? Thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much. Thank you, 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 thank you.